Hello and welcome to the podcast that explores the Heartland's entertainment industries. I'm Brian.
I'm Kelly.
And we have a special guest co-host today. Neil has transformed into the beautiful Lainey Gilliland.
Just for the day.
You and I share a last name.
We're brother and sister.
We're brother and sister.
That's gross.
Some Luke and Leia stuff
Not in Game of
going
Thrones, it's not.
So before we introduce our actual guest of the show, let's talk about the freaking 48 Hour.
Oh, it was so
project.
awesome. It was
Holy
so
crap,
awesome.
dude. For the 48 Hour film race, we made a short film called The Office Case. And this thing went on to, like, we just at the award show 2 days ago. And what all did we get?
Well, we were nominated for like 12 awards, and then I think we won like eight. Yeah. I mean, including like best. So we can name all of the other ones, but best just covers it.
I know we got just best overall.
We got
best sound design, best editing, best screenplay,
best visual effects.
best visual effect, of course.
course.
Freaking dragon, dude.
Yeah, best our audience choice for
our group.
Group B, best director, obviously.
Dude, that is Patrick has
He's
won
on
best director like
he is reigning champ.
3 or 4 years in a row.
Yeah,
It's
that's
crazy.
insane.
I'm almost convinced he's a decent director.
Burn.
But what's crazy is that now that we won the best of OKC with The Office Case, now it goes on to Filmpalooza, which is in freaking Paris, France.
Yeah, we were talking Saturday night about how we're all just going to go there, and because
We're just going to all
happy
caravan.
Anniversary to everyone. We're just going to make that
Yeah.
our anniversary trip.
One giant collective anniversary trip.
It would be so romantic. We could all put a lock.
Yeah.
Share a
All
tiny,
of our
tiny
names.
studio. And
Right, yeah. We'll all just
It is
pile
expensive.
on top of each other.
yeah.
Man, I don't
It was
know.
awesome, though. I mean, the whole experience was a lot of fun. And we had to do, we got to do some improv.
Ben Halavity, he invited us to do a demonstration.
Yeah, basically we were kind of some entertainment in between two shorts that they were showing, and we pulled up some people from the audience, and it was fun.
A couple of the folks from Take One Productions.
Yes,
And
thank you to them.
that, man, they killed it.
They killed it. And we knew it. We knew it ahead of time. I was like, man, Take One's going to be here. We got to get them on stage because otherwise we're going to be dragging some poor
schmuck.
Yeah,
is gonna
around
come
on
up
stage.
I don't know what I'm doing.
Yeah.
No,
It was good, though. The whole thing was a lot of fun.
Yeah, no, it was freaking awesome. And then what was really cool is, like, I've been trying to convince Nick Sabo, our screenwriter, who took home best screenplay. I've been trying to get him to do stand-up for freaking forever because he's hilarious.
And he
did. For the first time, Nick got up on stage at Tapworks. And Tapworks has a comedy workshop every Sunday. Sign-ups at 6 if you guys want to do some stand-up. And he killed it.
That's awesome.
Little bastard. I remember my first time doing stand-up, and I was hammered by the time I got up on stage, as I had to be.
I don't think I'd be able to just go up dry, sober.
He wasn't sober, but he was much more sober than I was the first time.
He had some clarity in his jokes.
Yeah. No, but he did a great job. I'm hoping that he comes back and does some more. So you guys...
You know, he said that he was coming out when I do it, so we're going to make that a night.
You almost came
I
out.
almost did, but I owed my husband too much time. We have a time chart. I owed him so much time that weekend.
You guys have a time chart?
We do. We kind of, well, it's not like a legit, but it's pretty much, we try to balance each other out. Like, okay, I was gone for like 7 hours. So that's 7 hours with the kids that he had.
That's true.
Okay.
And so, I have to allow him some breathing room as well. So
Can we do that, but with the dogs?
yeah, exactly.
I mean, why wouldn't we?
It's good to
Carrie, do
start
that with
now
the
and
cats.
learn the balance that you guys require for when
Yeah.
you're totally done. You walk in the house and you say, "It's your turn." You walk out.
He tosses the he tosses the childs to
In
you.
our case, it would be me tossing the giant basset hound at
Yeah.
you.
That might be dangerous.
Yeah. He's really thick and heavy. But so anyway, it's been a crazy weekend. But let's talk to our special guest today.
Yeah, I'm pretty excited about this.
This guy is he's a recording engineer from Western Rebel Studios, which is a home studio that you built in your house.
Yes.
And you are also the guy who recorded the O Fidelis album, which is actually part of the reason why Lainey's here.
Woohoo!
Multiple locations, even.
Yeah.
Yes, multiple locations.
I moved.
It was
during
a
that process.
time-spanning event. It was a.
We're going to talk
Yes.
about kind of the lengthy process of recording at home versus like in an actual like big studio. But everybody, welcome to the show, Mr. Ryne Barber. Yay! We need an audience in this room. But so we're going to be talking about basically recording in your home, building your own home studio and everything. And Ryan, you're the best resource of information I can imagine. So welcome to the show, sir.
Thank you.
So first of all, tell us, kind of get us kind of up to speed of what all you have done, what all types of things that you do record.
I've done a little bit of everything. Kind of started off just recording my own music because recording at a big fancy studio gets crazy expensive. Really, I wanted to start pumping out records, but I couldn't afford to pump out records, which is really the only reason I got into it originally. And then
Selfish.
Yeah. Well, it was
Purely
crazy.
selfish reason. No.
I discovered that I preferred recording to sleeping in just crappy hotel rooms across the country. So, like, when the band I was playing with, we broke up, and honestly, it was kind of nice to just be at home all the time and just work on stuff because I wanted to work on it.
Yeah.
Through that process, just really didn't expect to, but kind of fell in love with just the studio and
So where
everything.
did you learn how to do all that?
So I'd like to really kind of shout out the guys at the music group.
Okay.
Chris Friels, LG, Kevin Lively used to freelance out of the music group, and
Kevin did the
we
mastering on our
recorded
album.
with them.
He's a good guy.
Yeah, he's mastering now. He's fantastic.
Dude, and it's great because the tracks all sounded great whenever you gave us the finalized tracks and everything. But then giving them to Kevin Lively and hearing him
it's
master,
black magic, though.
Holy crap! I don't understand. I don't get it. I don't get it. It's like putting a gloss finish over everything. It's crazy.
Yeah. And I've recently started kind of trying my hand at mastering, and kind
even
of come
know
to the
what it
conclusion that
is.
he's going to continue to do that for
Yeah.
me.
I went into his little facility area and he's got all these
spaceship.
crazy knobs and it looks like the room should launch and fire off into space. But I don't even know. Well, and this is kind of off topic, but just because I'm curious right now, what is mastering?
So I guess at a very basic level, it's kind of getting that volume up to commercial levels, making everything on the album sound cohesive, making sure there's no weird jumps in sound and volume and quality
Okay.
overall, and really just kind of, I don't know, it's kind of a cheesy way of saying it, but gently massaging the tracks. So you're not doing anything super heavy-handed. It's
Yeah.
a little bit of EQ, a little bit of something, just to kind of
It's like
bring
alchemy
stuff
with
out.
sound.
But what's crazy
give
is
a little bit of this,
how little
a little bit
of
of
an
this.
action and how big of a result you get is
Yeah.
just, that's the part that I'm always mix engineer. Yeah, we're just gonna crank this up. Crank this up. Oh wait, I just ruined the mix.
Because I edit in Adobe Audition. I'll do production post audio, and there's just a little plug-in. It's just a little mastering plug-in, and I'll just just drop that on. That's all I know as far as mastering goes. But it always sounds better. So
Well, that's the tricky part with mastering, though.
Right.
So we always think louder sounds better. It's just how our ears work. So if you play somebody the same exact file at two different volumes, they're always going to prefer the louder one. So
something to remember.
I mean,
from
there's
client work.
that's
Crank
why.
it.
I mean, it's not really why commercials are always so loud. I think that's more to get your attention and everything.
Yeah.
But the volume wars with music kind of ruined music for a while as far as quality goes, and we're still trying to get out of that.
Tame it back a little
Yeah.
bit.
So bringing it back to your home studio, I feel like we kind of rabbit trailed.
We did.
That was
We
my
did.
fault. That was my fault because you were talking about Kevin Lively, and you were basically talking about how you learn how to do all this stuff.
Yeah, so Chris Friels and Kevin Lively were amazing in the sense that they didn't mind me being the annoying kid in the studio that was just asking a ton of questions. They were really patient, and I think they were actually just thrilled that there was an artist in the studio who
cared
cared about
Yeah.
that stuff. They're like, oh
Yeah.
wait, You care about what compressors do. Awesome. Well, let me show you.
I feel like there's one guy in every band that's like that.
Yeah, and
That kinda has to
so
be.
they really showed me a lot. And then when I worked with them on a second record, they already knew I had an interest. And so I actually got a lot more involved in the mix sessions and really producing things, making decisions in the studio. And I just thought it was the coolest thing in the world.
Yeah.
And I just wanted to be those two guys. Like,
Yeah.
so I don't know. And it wasn't, like I said, it wasn't by choice necessarily that I built my studio in the beginning, because we weren't really making waves enough to warrant just spending tons of money on records. So we kind of had to make a decision, like, we can put out one record every 4 years, or we can build a studio and just record as much as we want.
Yeah. Or in our case, you can put out a record every 8 years.
Hey,
It's fine.
you know what's
It
sad
works.
is I have a
8 or 9
studio,
9.
and I've put out more records for other people than I have myself. So, I mean, it happens.
Yeah. We have a question from Facebook Live. Peyton Downey wants to know, is there a major difference, or what is the difference between editing audio for music and editing audio for a film?
Pretty big differences, I think. For film, I don't know. You know more about editing for film than I do, but what I've done, realism is kind of the key for audio. And, like, the precision is way more important. As much as we want our records to sound, like, super tight and perfect, really, like, lip sync and footsteps and all your Foley and everything like that, they have to be, like, spot on, like, frame accurate. So, I mean, you can be more creative.
Suspension of disbelief is, first of all, when you're editing audio for film, suspension of disbelief is an issue, because when you're listening to a record, you're not like, I don't believe it.
Well, yeah, you can hear the same kick sound 4 times in a row, and the average listener doesn't care.
Yeah.
But you hear the same footstep in a, like, sequence of somebody walking across the room, and they might not know why it sounds or feels weird, but they detect it.
Right.
And it's just crazy to me that you can't get away with really cheating if you want to do, like, high quality work in film.
Yeah.
So,
yeah, like, especially, like, you can just tell. There's also a difference in the microphones that you're using when you're talking about editing audio for film, because if you're recording ADR rather than doing in studio for music, you're not going to be using this big condenser mic or anything. You're going to be using the same kind of shotgun mic that you shot on the day. So that's the first mistake that people make whenever they're doing ADR, is for some reason they're like, we're going to make it sound super polished, so bring the best radio mic on the planet.
Yeah, the microphones are wildly different because you want something different out of it. I mean, for music, kind of what I love about music anyway is that imperfections sometimes are like the best part of a track. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Like, you can edit a drummer or record a drummer to sound exactly like he sounds in the room and edit it to just be right on the grid. And 9 times out of 10, it doesn't sound good. I mean, why not just use a drum machine? But, like, you don't want to, like, edit the groove or the feeling or the magic, so to speak, out of music. Yeah. And so you don't really want to do that in film. Like, yeah, there's definitely creativity, but in music, it's you almost want things to be imperfect. Right. It's just so much better that way, at least for me.
That's like the biggest turnoff for like an album is like everything sounds super polished and perfect. Like I can't stand it for some reason. It drives my brain.
It's harder. Crazy. Like when you have an artist, you edit their whole track, you get everything, and they're just like, I don't know. It sounds just kind of raw, and I'm like, well, that's my style.
I like that.
I love
it. Yeah. I think that's like the difference between like indie and like pop. Because pop is just like so freaking polished and manufactured.
Yeah.
Ugh.
There are great pop records though. There are people out there that are proving that you can do it right.
I like Coldplay.
Hey man.
They have become pop.
Yes. Become pop.
They were not originally pop.
They're like
the
Parachutes
side.
was pretty indie, really sounding.
Which one?
The Parachutes. Is that their first big record? I think it was before
I'm the
Blood to the
greatest Coldplay fan. I don't know.
Well, if it's any like consolation to not knowing, the only reason I really know about their first record is because I had an ex-girlfriend that was like just played it constantly, and I actually didn't want to like that band because I heard them so much in such a short period of time. I was like, this band sucks. I don't ever want to listen to them again.
Right.
I had an ex-boyfriend that loved them, but he actually gave us tickets
He totally did. And that was actually one of our best dates I think we've been on.
Well, that's how we kind of got back together. Was that? So thank you, Nathan.
There you go.
What was I going to say? I can't even. I totally lost
You're
my train of
welcome.
thought. Thanks for that.
Yeah. We were talking about just like the different mic, sounds that the equipment used is different for film and for. I mean, obviously the editing's different, but.
Yeah. Well, and also like whenever you're recording audio on location, you have your wireless lavs and you have your shotgun mic, and that's pretty much it. There's different types of shotgun mics that you would use in different scenarios and stuff, but you're pretty limited. Like that's why we're so jealous of post guys, because like you have total control over everything, like your environment. You are the god of your environment when you post audio.
Well, see, and in Foley, recording Foley is to me the most fun thing on the planet, because you're so just cool. Like, I'm going to go to the grocery store and buy a bunch of stuff to make weird sounds with it.
Right.
Like,
my favorite thing is like walking in on Brian doing Foley. So like I'll open his office door and like he has a towel and he's like rubbing it against the microphone.
He's like stabbing a watermelon.
So my favorite is I found condoms in his car and I was like,
what's going on?
Why?
I was blowing them up,
Just
and then
in
I was
case.
popping them. They made the perfect sound.
Yeah. It's a pop sound.
When
but
you
it's
take
squishy.
it and you smack someone in the face with it, it sounds exactly like
Right.
that.
It's a very unique sound.
don't you like put them over microphones too? Like when you want to like
well,
submerge them?
on
Yes.
stage, you have to like, or at least like in theater, you put one in a condom and then put it. So because you get all sweaty, you don't want the microphone to get all sweaty, so you got to stick that somewhere on your body. You got to keep it protected.
Condoms are,
This is why I record orchestras, by the way.
You don't
sweat on my microphone when you're in an
sweat on my
orchestra.
microphone.
It's really funny because like there are so many pieces of sound equipment that are very questionable names.
Yeah.
Because like we use condoms to cover mics and keep them safe from moisture and that kind of thing. Then we have transmitters that you put on the end of a boom pole, and it's literally called a butt plug. Literally. And like, what was another one? There was I don't know. I mean, it was pretty close to like rim job, like, but it was not.
See, that's why we all get into audio, so we can make just a ton of sex jokes all the time.
Exactly.
Yeah,
It's really
just
the only
like
reason.
Terrify people all the time. So, can you give us kind of the rundown of like for a home studio, like you're not going to have soundproofed glass and all this kind of stuff, but how can you treat your room?
DIY is probably the only way most people are going to be able to do it at all, because it is extremely expensive to treat a room properly.
Yeah.
The biggest thing for me in my rooms in my current studio, the bass traps. If you have a wall with a corner 90-degree angle, the bass trap is an absolute necessity. It will make the biggest difference for me in my rooms. Then really you're just trying to get rid of your reflection points after that.
Right. And what is that for the layman?
So for the control room where you're actually, listening to the audio through
the back
monitors,
computer is?
what you're trying to do is keep the reflections off the walls from getting back to you as much as possible. You're never going to really get rid of all of it.
So it's a kind of reverb.
Yeah, and you have your earliest reflections. So what you actually do is you can use a hand mirror, and you have somebody sit at the listening position, and they run it along a wall. And as soon as you see the speaker for the first time, that's your first like major reflection point. So that's you mark it, and that's where your first trap goes.
Yeah.
There's another reflection point, obviously directly behind you. A lot of sound just goes straight to the back wall and then back to you. Behind the speakers, you also do the same thing. Your first reflection point above you, same thing. If you have somebody that's kind enough to get on a ladder and run a mirror across your ceiling and everything. But there's also a lot of tools online to help people too. There's companies that you can send them as much information as humanly possible about your room, and they'll actually help you.
Oh, wow.
Treat it properly.
Oh, that's awesome.
And some companies that are like...
You don't want to mistreat your room.
Yeah. Some companies are really good about offering you different price points when you send in your like room diagrams and everything. So
yeah.
I don't know. It's I wouldn't say I'm an expert on acoustics, but you have to learn enough to like kind of get your room under control.
Yeah.
I mean,
why is that? Why is it so important to set up all those?
Well, for one, in a home studio, you don't want it to sound like you're recording in a bedroom.
Right.
And
Why
there's
not?
just like nasty little artifacts that pop up that just might not be that big of a deal on a single track. But, when we were doing our stuff, we would end up with 30, 40, 50 tracks on some song.
God, yeah.
And so, I mean, that stuff all adds up. I mean, unless you have just an amazing sounding room, you don't want a ton of it in your recordings because it all builds up. And a lot of times, especially with acoustic treatment, you're trying to get rid of bad frequencies or build up. So like things that frequencies tend to build up and kind of cause congestion sonically in your tracks. So it kind of cleans things up as well. So
Yeah.
I don't know if I'm expressing.
No,
this
that's
well.
I'm so zoned in because I don't know anything about this, so it's like I feel like I'm I'm learning. There are words that you're saying I don't know. However, some of the things like it makes a lot of sense. Like, okay, you're talking about like hitting those points because that's where the sound is going to come back at you. That makes sense. You'd want to put something there to stop that if you're building your own. That's wow.
Yeah,
And it's fascinating.
Instruments are fighting for space in a mix. So I mean, like, if everything's just taking up the same amount of space, there's only so much room for a track as far as each frequency to be heard. Otherwise, you're just burying things.
Yeah.
So, I mean, if every instrument's hitting, I'm just using this as an example, but like 200 hertz, if every single instrument or voice or whatever on a record is hitting that 200 hertz and it's just building up, it's just mud in your mix.
There's
so
no
definition, and you're not really hearing anything good because it's just a bunch of things fighting for attention, essentially. So
those attention whore frequencies. So the next thing is, so now we've treated the room. Kind of walk me through like the chain of everything.
So for my studio, my approach was quality over quantity. So instead of buying a ton of stuff with a bunch of fancy buttons, knobs, and lights, I really spent more money and got professional equipment that I knew would be around for a long time and would not, like, if something sounds bad, it's my fault.
Right.
I can honestly say that, like, for the most part in my studio, that the equipment can't be blamed.
To blame.
So, I mean, in the trick with a home studio is if you take that approach, there is less equipment in the room. And for clients, that can sometimes be a little bit of a downer.
They want to see the dog and pony show. Yeah.
So, I mean, I have a tiny little box in my studio that looks like a lunchbox. That's actually what it's called. And it's 6 modules. 6 processing modules, and I probably have $4,000 or $5,000 invested in that one little tiny box.
Yeah.
Now I could have taken that money and got a big old cheap mixer and a bunch of a rack full of equipment, but that stuff wouldn't have really done me.
That's the one thing about sound equipment that for the listeners, that's really important. If you're wanting to get into sound editing and all that kind of stuff, like it's really important to know that you do get what you pay for.
Absolutely.
Well, and to do your research and know that that's going to provide you with way more than this big fancy thing that looks like it does a lot when it actually won't help you that much. Yeah.
So, I mean, there's something to be said for having a lot of stuff because sometimes that makes a band feel like they're just in a really cool stereo or like studio stereo.
Yeah. We're so cool.
We record in the boombox. But I don't know. For me personally, I just wasn't interested in that. Mostly because when I first started buying equipment, it was for me anyway.
Right.
So like it didn't really matter what the studio looked like, but it ended up paying off in a really big way. So
I have a question. Those like looking to buy equipment, especially like people who are new into it, how did you do your research on what works? Like what resources?
Because I'm sure
did you go
there's
to?
so much information out there that it's hard to sift through.
Well, and I know that like even
Who
with
did you
reviews
murder?
nowadays, like people pay people to do reviews on things.
Yeah.
So how did you know what you could trust?
So you have to get your information from a ton of different sources. It's exhausting for sure. And then if you can, like it's a lot of industry professionals are more than willing to like take a minute to talk to a young aspiring engineer or even a musician that just wants to start a project studio or something.
Yeah.
Like I
But if
honestly,
you're an
I
old
spent
man,
like,
too bad.
yeah.
How do I start my own home studio?
Actually, I would probably take that call first. It'd probably be the most entertaining.
How would that conversation go?
Excuse me. Is this by Ryne Barber?
That's about how it would go.
Yeah, and then it would just be awkward silence, heavy breathing. Like there wouldn't be many actual like
Sir,
conversations.
don't shout into the phone, sir. Sir, I'm trying to help you here. Can you come over to my house? Just come over to my house. I'll show you what I have.
Is your grandson there?
Is there anyone that can turn your hearing aid up? Sir.
Anyway, okay.
Honestly, on
to
that
inject
note,
some kind
like,
of comedy into this thing.
That was ageism. That was so... Man, we just made fun of an old person.
I hope that's how you really sound when you're old.
That's
you
how
probably
I'm going
will
to
sound like that.
Yeah.
But the question would be whether or not it's intentional or not.
Right. I
Is
feel
he just
like
is he being a jerk and just like making Lainey's life really difficult?
I could just, I would like that because I could just speak for you.
I definitely have husband
Make up
ears.
crap.
I have this.
Oh, that's
like,
a
husband-
thing, actually.
Oh yeah.
Yeah.
Oh yeah.
It's like
Well,
a real psychological thing.
Husband
Well, it's
ears.
also a hilarious little gift from God where men, as we grow older, we lose the ability to hear higher pitches.
Selective
and
hearing.
women, as they grow older, lose the ability to hear lower pitches. So Tower of Babel is what's happening in every
Aaron's
relationship.
in trouble because I have a low voice, so it's I just he's always going to hear me, and I won't have
You just
to hear
gave
him
them all
anymore.
the secret, man. They're just going to drop their voice an octave.
He's going to be like,
octave.
damn it.
Yeah, I'll be like,
Now she knows that I know.
that's my old person voice. It's terrifying.
Just lots of effort,
Yeah.
apparently.
So we're going to be, 20 years from now, whenever we're still doing this show, that's going to sound really good.
So, Kelly.
Is that how we're going to sound in 20 years?
It's what it wait.
This is what Brian thinks is
when
old.
I'm 50. Yeah.
when I'm ancient, yeah.
Yeah.
Just insulted
The
a lot
ancient age of 50.
Do you remember whenever you thought 30 was old?
I don't want to talk about it.
Wait. Was this like 5 years ago or something?
It was, I'm thinking of like whenever I was 20, I thought 30 was old. I'm like, 10 years is forever away.
And
Well, now it's here.
Now that I'm 30,
Yeah.
now I look back on 20-year-olds and I'm like, you know what? You don't know shit.
I know. Isn't that great? I love that. I love that so much.
How
I know
are
so
you
much
able to
more than you.
vote?
And then in a couple of years, that's when we start giving them actual grace, and we're like, they don't know what they're talking about.
Yeah.
It's okay. But right now, we just hate them for it. Like, you're
Man.
stupid and you don't
But
know.
who's really
And every
right,
activist
No
is
one's
a freaking
right.
20-year-old. They don't know shit.
Because, I mean, the kids, I think, have at least a little bit right whenever they're like criticizing adults.
They've
for,
got
like,
gumption and they've got like
giving up on life, and you're just
Yeah.
not enthusiastic or
Exactly.
optimistic
That's
anymore.
so true. Well,
Yeah.
we've been beaten down
Yeah.
by
Yeah.
life.
by realism.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But they just don't get it. They're like, why did you give up, dude?
Right.
Or they actually, sometimes they criticize you for not giving up.
Right.
Like, you're too
That's
old
true.
for
Like,
this. Like, what are you doing?
When you're 30 years old and still trying to keep the dream
Yeah.
alive.
It's like when I'm on stage with like my comb over and still have my hair grown out.
Yeah.
And, like, still trying to play like
This
rock
next
shows.
song is an original.
That's gonna be my go-to bit tonight. Is just
What is your band name going to be when you're that old?
it'll be
You can do a show with the guy that, oh hello, too much tuna guys. You just
Yeah.
we have too much tuna. We have oh hello, and then opening up for oh hello is
what a lineup! I would go to see that show.
So
Back to you,
back
Ryan.
to the getting information on equipment. Great. So now you know kind of what equipment you might need.
Yeah.
Like, I mean, did you have to do a lot of self-learning with this equipment? Like teach
Oh, yeah.
yourself a lot
I still,
about it?
well, that's the thing is like I'm still learning a lot.
Yeah.
Like every project I do, I learn something.
Yeah.
And
I don't think you ever stop learning, really.
no, and if you do, you're probably just stuck in your ways and aren't going to be very good at what you do.
If you're the
Like,
smartest person in the room, you're in the wrong room. Find a different room.
What if you're just
Boom.
really smart?
What if you
If you're the smartest person in the room, then
Go
you
outside.
need to
Go
leave the
outside.
nursery and go outside. Yeah.
but like the big thing is talk to people who do it for a living, or even if they do it part-time, but they're just like super serious about it. And really for me, the tricky part was when I first started out, like I just thought I had it all figured out immediately.
Yeah.
So you get advice. And
what a dick.
So Chris Friels, the first time I had actually talked to the guy, one of my friends was doing a mentorship program with him. And I asked him, I was like, hey, ask him what my next equipment purchase should be. And so he relayed the information. He came back and he's like, yeah, he says you need new converters. And my reaction was seriously just, does he understand what equipment I have though? Like, are you sure you told him? Does he know what I have? Like
Dude, does he even know who I am?
And so like, looking back, I thought like you kind of learn as you go that the equipment you have is not nice.
Right.
It's nice because like however old you are getting into it, you're like, I just spent $150 on a microphone.
Yeah.
It is sweet.
It's the best.
And then, the guys who do it for a living are like, psh, if you didn't spend $50,000, it's nothing.
Yeah. Man.
So, I mean, there's like, you start to realize that if you want something nice, you can have to spend a couple $1,000 per piece.
Yeah.
And that's a really, really tough pill to swallow for a lot of people because, and I've talked to a lot of younger guys and stuff that come in. A lot of times it's bands. They want to know like, hey man, I want to kind of start my own studio. What do you think I should buy? And you kind of start to point them in a direction and they're like, I don't need anything that expensive. Right. Like, well, I mean, you
that's
don't
also kind
need
of the way
it,
that you vet whether or not this is something that you want to do.
Yeah. And so, yeah, everybody has to start with beginning equipment. Like, I wouldn't suggest if you're like, hey, I have a slight interest in recording. I'm going to go out and drop $25,000 on a setup, and then you find out you're terrible at it or you hate it. Cause like, that's the other thing. Like, it's not for everybody. There's a lot of like tedious parts of recording, editing, stuff like that I like. But most people are like, wait, I have to do what with the snare drum? Mm-hmm. How many times? Like, so definitely don't start off big. Get something modest. Start small. But then I think people who do it for a living are going to be able to point you to equipment. That's the great thing about like analog audio equipment. It will be around for decades if you get the right stuff.
Right.
Yeah. Like I bought a set of EQs when I really started building my studio I think they were made in like the 70s.
Oh wow.
They were refurbished when I bought them. So, I mean, they were in great condition.
That tells you how long that they've lasted, and they're still
considered like cream of the crop. Like this is good stuff equipment, Now I don't have like what a top notch facility might have in their studio because there's compressors out there that people spend like $30,000-$40,000 on. You're talking about a single channel of processing that does one thing.
Yeah.
Now, if you can afford that, you're probably making hopefully bringing in a lot of money, and it's paying for itself.
Yeah.
The other thing is like, as far as choosing equipment for me, the tricky part is whether or not you want to do it for yourself or if you want to record other people, because some artists are knowledgeable about brands. So they walk into your studio and you might have really nice handmade boutique equipment that's made by small companies, just as good as the like big name brand stuff. But they kind of expect to see certain things in studios. That's why a lot of major studios have the same things. Right. Because an engineer needs to be able to fly from New York to LA and know what equipment he's working with. Or the artist maybe wants to know that the studio has a Neumann U47, that there's companies making...
like that, I know what that is.
Well, no, I mean...
I totally have seen that and heard of what that is. I'm assuming that it's a box of some sort.
It is a box.
Oh, good. Hey, I'm smart, guys. Got to leave the room. Smartest person in the room. I'm out.
But, I mean, there's people that feel better when they recognize the brand names that they're hearing. So, like, you might have really good stuff, but if you're planning on building a studio for clients, you kind of have to buy some of those things that are at least recognizable to people outside of the hardcore recording crowd.
Yeah.
We were really upset with your...
I know. I put up a mic and she would just throw it and say, get me another one.
Trash.
Does Shakira use
Actually,
this mic?
there was one microphone problem that I thought was amazing. And it was when I realized you were like the nicest person on the planet, by the way.
Oh. Oh.
You don't know her that well.
I set up a mic and I go in the other room. I'm setting levels and I'm thinking like things are just not sounding right. And I go in the room and the mic's like halfway leaned over because I didn't tighten it up all the way. And you're like singing like this.
Oh, I didn't want to touch it because I break everything that I touch. Like Brian knows this. I break
Fact.
everything that I touch. So I honestly was probably just terrified to touch
ways
it.
I didn't even know were possible sometimes.
I'm really good at breaking stuff.
But I was like, at first mortified because I was like, because I think it was like we just started recording, and I'm like, what kind of like ragtag operation is this guy running? You know what I mean? Like his microphone stands don't even hold microphones.
I guess we're just gonna sing. Like, 1 hour later, he's like, "Oh no, it's fine. She don't know what she's doing."
So, okay. I do want to revisit the chain real quick because because this is a very, very selfish thing because I want to know what the hell everything is because you have your mic, it goes XLR into
a mic amp,
which goes
presumably. If you're recording with a microphone, you need a mic amp,
right?
Which gets it to the proper level to interface with consoles and interfaces and everything. A lot of interfaces have built-in microphone preamps. I mean,
what are you laughing about?
I'm sorry. I don't mean to be making faces.
I looked at her like, I don't know what they're saying. She goes,
yes. Go on.
So you have your mic preamp and mic. And if your interface is normal, it's going to have some preamps in them. They're not like crazy good usually, but they'll get you by. Once again, you get what you pay for.
Yeah.
And if it's a standalone, dedicated, this product does one thing, it's probably better than the thing that does everything. There are exceptions to that rule. But
just like crew members.
But then you go from that to your converters, which are also hugely important and probably one of the most overlooked pieces of equipment in the studio. Because everybody just kind of uses whatever converters are built into their interface. Which isn't a lot of modern interfaces are actually really good compared to what we had in 20 years ago.
Yeah.
So it's you don't run into terrible converters anymore, but really it's one of the things it does. You're going to listen to two side by side and go, this doesn't make that big of a difference. Once again, stack it 100 times throughout the course of your track, and suddenly that subtle difference actually matters.
Yeah. It's like a butterfly effect, or like aiming with a rifle long distance. Just let time off.
Just a little bit of wind there, and bing, gone.
But the one I'd say that's usually pretty ignored. So those are your main components in your input chain. Then the problem is a lot of people cheap out on their monitoring too. So if your room acoustics aren't good, it doesn't matter how good your monitoring is really. But let's just assume you have a good sounding room. You need good converters coming back out into a good monitor controller, something that's just clean and stays out of the way. And then high quality speakers. And what we want in the studio isn't you don't want speakers that sound good. I know that sounds weird. I mean,
well, that's not a very
you don't want
good
them to
representation
sound
of
good
reality.
as much as neutral.
Right.
Because if it sounds say you get these amazing speakers that just flatter the sound in every way, and you're like, this mix sounds amazing, and then you switch over to a cheap audio system, and it's
that's what it's gonna make a huge difference depending on how it's played or where it's played.
You want your monitoring path to be completely neutral if it's possible. That way you hear 100% what's on the track. No coloring, no flattering, just neutral sound.
Yeah.
Man, there's so much that goes into that. That's crazy.
Yeah.
Once again,
what makes a man go neutral? Lust, power, gold, or a heart that's just born in neutrality. I don't know. I'm in a weird mood today. I don't know why.
He's drunk.
We wish. No.
I'm really tired too. But let's talk a little bit about recording the album. So
just so much fun. By the way.
We had an absolute blast. So much so that some days may not have been as productive as they could have been because we were having so much fun.
We got distracted a lot.
But
you guys actually had the pleasure of working with a guy named Miles, Well, at least
Yes.
you did.
Yes, I got to work with Miles a lot. So
That guy could waste a recording session. Like,
But he had
he
great
was so
stories.
entertaining that you're just like, you know what? I'm good with it.
he could also like counteract that and like just lay it all.
Yeah. Well,
out,
he made
like,
up for it. Like when it was
instantly.
time to work, he was just like, all right, let's get this done.
Yeah.
And he just like knock it out in one take. And you're just
Yeah.
like, he's like, that was
He was
crap.
a
Like,
great
no, it was
guitar player.
fantastic.
Yeah.
So
me-
I will just say, you guys have not topped the most like laid back waste of time sessions. And I say waste of time, I mean like on the business side of things.
Right.
It was some of the best evenings where we just didn't get anything done.
We
Yeah.
had fun.
You guys didn't come anywhere close to that level.
Okay,
Oh,
good.
nice.
Good.
Good job, guys.
We try.
I think that there was one time
You just
though,
try just enough.
Yeah.
where we came in and it was like close to my birthday or day after, and your wife had like made a cake or like got me like cookies or something. I remember that. I was like, this is the best time that we're having right now.
Best day ever.
Best.
You should advertise that for your business.
Yeah.
Be like, hey, my wife makes some pretty good cake.
Yeah,
So-
except then people will get angry when like she's
they
like
don't-
super busy
when she
with her
can't make
work.
the
It's like,
cake,
yeah.
it becomes
Yeah.
expected.
Where's the cake?
Yeah.
I came here for the cake. I don't really care about the song right now.
I just wanted cake. So we recorded with you, first of all, in 2 different locations. You moved.
Yeah, that was
And
fun.
so you moved your studio. You moved the whole like what you had at one place and set it all
yeah,
up. And
so that's the worst.
that sounds rough.
so many cables.
But I mean,
right,
it
'cause-
was a bigger room and like
Yeah.
Yeah.
So that was nice. So because that first room that we recorded in was cramped.
Yeah, yeah.
Where were we at first?
Jason's
We were at
house.
Jason's house, yeah.
Okay.
Because I had, it was like an old art room that I basically just took over and just like somehow took all of the stuff that was out of it and like without throwing it away, found other homes for it.
Yeah. It
Like
was
kind of
pretty
carved out a
impressive.
tiny space for the studio. So like the only person who was having any sort of fun at that studio was the person that was in the tracking area because they weren't like crammed in with everybody else. Like,
Yeah.
and then, you know, if you're a guitar player, you're like, oh, it's my turn. I get to go in the tracking area. It's like, hold on, partner. If you're playing electric, you're still stuck in here. The amp's out there, but...
No!
And then it's even worse because you got a guy swinging and the guitar neck around, like,
Yeah.
threatening to...
Taking out eyes.
Yeah.
It's great. It's madness. It's the risk that you take when you have a home studio. Taking out an eye with a guitar.
Do you have liability insurance? You should probably start doing that if you don't.
I do have insurance. I don't know if I have, like, guitar player poked out someone's eye level insurance, but...
Come to this studio and you could lose an eye. To rock and roll.
I recently did record a track in that old space, though.
Oh, really?
That's
yeah.
where Don and Jason
Yeah,
and I have been
so-
recording recently.
I don't remember why. I had something in my studio that went down. It needed repairs, and so like it was just easier to go over to the other place and like use the equipment that Jason had and
Yeah.
my brother-in-law.
Jason Doherty.
Hello, he's been on the podcast before.
He's
miss
real good.
you.
He's an improviser. Yeah,
Long
and if
hair.
you're watching this, Jason, we miss you.
We miss you.
Come back.
We do.
Come back,
We do.
Jason.
You're dead to us.
We hate you.
Anyways,
I don't. But so this particular session, we had everyone decided to bring like a friend or two. So like there were 9 of us, I think, in this tiny
Jeez.
little.
no.
No.
It was
Thinking
awful.
of that cat
No,
video.
no. Sorry, go on.
This is what happens when Lainey comes on the show. We have all these inside jokes because we're married.
We are.
Gross.
Yeah.
Quit loving each other.
Spit in my eye.
I have my text tone. Whenever I get a text right now, it farts. And
Yeah,
so
she was-
sometimes we'll be having romantic conversations and a fart will happen randomly. It's pretty glorious.
Yep.
So does that heighten the experience?
It absolutely heightens the experience.
Yes. Yes.
Have you gotten to? I mean, can you tell by now that it's not a real Brian fart or no? That's how good this fart is. It's
Here's the thing. Brian's farts don't make sounds,
oh.
but they are the stinkiest.
silent.
So
but
you basically
deadly.
hear it and then wait a second. And if
And then
there's no smell,
I'm not
then you
dead
know
yet.
it was the
So
phone.
Then it was
obviously
just the phone. So we can
the phone.
continue now. No.
Right.
Let us go
I can't
on about
remember
how
what- there was
romantic.
something
was.
of like I think it was like you look so beautiful today.
Yep. Yeah. Yeah, I remember
Right.
that.
See,
Another rabbit trail,
farts
guys.
can ruin an evening.
I was gonna say we have
They
too
could
much
ruin
fun.
it.
Improperly
Yes.
placed fart.
Yeah. So you guys recorded. How long did it take you guys to record this?
Dear God.
Thank you for
You
asking,
guys started
Tully.
before I
Just
did,
out
by the
of
way.
Well, okay.
curiosity.
Man, so first of all, we almost had the entire album recorded. Like originally, it was O Fidelis, and the album was called Bible Promises and Dinosaurs because it was a little inside joke. We had the thing almost completely recorded, but I can't remember what happened. But we lost most of the files in some tragic exchanging of hands or something like that, and so we were just
Fire.
like,
We lost it in a fire.
and so then we approached Ryne, and we were like, "Would you like to take our tattered album and stitch it up?"
That hard drive you brought me was actually terrifying, by the way, because it was like so much random stuff on there. And I was just
Yeah.
like, well,
Well,
we've got parts of a record in here.
Sorry about all those butt pictures. I've got a thing with horse butts, man.
Horse butts.
Was it really horse butts?
No.
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 It's like, wait, what? Because sometimes
I did have a series on Instagram for a while where I was on Western, and it was just a series of nonstop horse butt pictures.
Yeah.
Because horse butts are funny.
Well, and like I'll open up my phone and like there's horse butts and other parts that like you said is like my screensaver.
Nice.
So
But I like
You want
to
to spice
say
up
that
your
I-
marriage.
Yeah.
Speaking of butts,
They're always muscular. Just saying.
Yeah.
open up your spouse's phone,
Horse butt.
pull up a random picture from the internet, close said phone. That way, when they open
Which
it,
is
it's
something I do.
I had
all
to
the time.
change my. I'm very, very big into like, you know, being open about like phones and everything. Like I gave him my password, I have his. Not a big deal if like someone grabs the other person's phone. That changed. That changed.
No
and like
more horse butts, Brian.
I have literally like tackled him from across the room because I saw him picking up my phone. I was like, no! Because I won't realize that there's a picture of like another person's private area. And I'll be at work just scrolling through my phone. I'll be like, I've been staring at this part for like 10 minutes now.
Because they'll put it as the background behind all of her apps and everything.
Yeah.
So it's you know it's hidden
And
behind
then,
the.
and then I have to go delete like my search history because I look like a pervert.
The NSA already knows, Lainey. They're
Oh, yeah.
aware of what you search.
You are on a wiener watch
Google
list.
has given them everything, and they.
I know. I know.
Wiener watch list. See, that just brings up Silicon Valley. Any Silicon
Yep.
Valley fans?
Oh,
I'm not going
yeah.
to say
Oh, yeah.
anything, but that is just.
That is not a dick. That is a dick.
that is not the thing.
My Kumail Nanjiani
I like it.
impression. But so man, then we started recording with you, and then you moved, and it took a little longer. And then because
We changed some band members actually in the process.
God,
even.
Yes.
yeah.
Like
I
that
think
was
the band went through like 3 different iterations.
I met a guy on the first, like during the first session that I don't think ever
Never
came
saw him
back.
again. He's out. Don't talk about it
Well,
anymore.
Like
He's done.
he
It's
failed
been
the
a
test.
constant revolving door. At
Brian and
Fidelis.
Lainey,
Yeah. No, and that happens.
they invite people to come in and then they just kill them.
Yeah.
They're murderers and they're the nicest murderers ever. But
The
they,
body count's getting pretty high. Don't look in the backyard.
We have an addiction to killing people. Oh my.
Speaking of just going back to like losing your files and losing what you've done in a recording studio, what safeguards do you have in place for that? Or like what would you recommend to help new people? Because
Yes.
that could be a real issue for
Yeah.
people who are just starting out. It's like,
That's a good
I don't know how to get
question.
that. I lost all your stuff, like that.
Don't learn the hard way. I will say that.
Yeah.
Sorry.
I had a hard drive that completely died on me. Luckily, my wife was working somewhere with a fantastic IT department that actually fixed it for free.
Ooh.
So
Oh, that is nice.
that was amazing. I don't want to give them props because I don't want to get them in trouble with their company. So
No, but yeah.
it was going to cost me like $1,000 to recover the hard drive through a service, and I was just like really going to have to pony up because like
it's
you can't just go and like I'm going to go buy my song ideas at Walmart and I'll just
Yeah.
get them back that way. No,
Right.
so I mean they're not replaceable. Now I have a RAID setup. So everything's copied to multiple drives and backed up. And if one drive dies, you pull it out, you swap another one in, and it automatically copies back over. So
Oh, wow.
mirrored hard drives, folks, are fantastic.
Backups of the backups.
And don't cheap out. If you're doing audio, this is the one thing that sucks. Hard drives, you have to get good ones or they won't work.
Yes. I had to break down and buy a big fat RAID drive.
I was to say, we've had trouble. I mean, we've lost podcasts, we've lost, bits and things.
devastating.
There are
It's
two
devastating.
complete interviews that we lost.
We lost, yeah.
And they were some of the best interviews I feel
know.
like we've done.
That's the problem.
It's always the really
It's
good
going
one.
to be the good stuff.
Yeah.
It's like that
You're
one
never
take that you're like,
I'm not too sad I lost that.
Yeah.
I can't sing that note ever
Right,
again.
right.
Which
Once in a
actually,
lifetime.
I will say that happened to me in a demo. I hit a note that was not in my range. It was like one of the greatest moments of
Carrie
like
kicked you right in the
Yes.
nuts.
It was one of the greatest moments ever for me. And so I went into like a big studio to record like the actual version because it was just for a demo. And the engineer had actually stopped me. He's like, I feel like I'm torturing you at this point because like you just look like you're in pain every time you try to hit that note, and I just don't think we're gonna get it. And I was
Because
so
Carrie
devastated.
kept kicking you in the balls.
Yeah.
We used the track from the demo though, and he was able to like spruce it up. But once again, like you never know when a take is like the one you can't replace. So
You
that
have to
just goes
keep 'em
back to the
all.
hard drive.
Right, yeah.
thing. You know, sometimes that take in a demo is the final take. It just had something about it, some charm or quality that just you didn't replicate in the big fancy studio. And sometimes like a good producer or engineer is not worried about where the audio came from. It's just right or wrong. You know, it feels better.
Yeah.
It doesn't sound better, but it feels better. And that's what music's really about anyway. So
Yep.
always, 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 always back everything up. Assume that everything you sing or play is a keeper because it might be. Like, I don't know if I ever hit that note again.
Yeah. Ever again.
So now how can we believe you if you actually hit that?
It's
note?
out there. So
It's out there
It's
on
out
a
there.
demo.
In the
It's the
interwebs.
demo, yeah. It's there.
Interwebs. So last question, and then we're going to do a little Kelly's Corner. Do you have a Kelly's Corner?
Okay.
Sure.
We're gonna do a little Kelly's Corner, and then we're gonna play a little bit of improv. But last question: where can people? What is the best online resource for information on all of this?
So the problem is I haven't hard launched the studio. I know it's been years.
Lazy bum.
So I'm in school, and to pay for school, I'm working constantly on top of trying to get freelance work as well. And so I've got enough on my plate that I can't hard launch because through word of mouth, I'm able to sustain a good amount of work. I don't ever lack for things to do. So I'm actually waiting till I graduate to hard launch.
Nice.
So I'm not really out there yet, which is crazy because I'm still working. And so Western Rebel Studios is a registered business. I will be on the internet.
That's kind of encouraging for people who do want to start up and maybe like they don't have to go full big blown thing. They can kind of fall into it and end
I
up
don't think
loving
it's
it
for
and
everybody.
doing it like for themselves or like you said, like started word of mouth having people come in just to do
I'm
it,
all for
right?
it not even being a business at all.
Yeah,
Like, if you just love doing it or you're in a band, like it's expensive to record. Now, granted, I would rather you come record with me, but honestly, it's expensive. So sometimes people just want to do it themselves, and you don't have to be like a full-time business owner. And in my case, I want to be, but it's not time yet. If I hard launch, I can't dedicate enough time to keep up with. I mean, I'm assuming that there will be a little bit more demand if I'm, out
all
there.
the work that would pour into your business.
I'm going to hard launch, and it's going to be like not a soul's interested.
Crickets.
It'd be like some guy that's like, your uncle told me you have a studio. I play the banjo 5 days a year, and I want to do a karaoke track with you. I don't know. Like that'll be the kind of stuff I get. No, but I do plan on hard launching next year.
Cool. Well, awesome.
We got a lot of
look forward to
stuff.
that.
When we move, I'm moving again. So
What?
Uh,
Why?
Everyone's moving but you, Brian.
Yeah, apparently.
Yeah. Okay.
Wait, did your landlord tell you to get out?
Yeah,
Well,
is
we
that the same
own-
thing?
So
Get
I
out.
mean, yes.
So
Really?
No. I mean, we own the
own all
house.
the
so,
land
like-
rights around
they
here.
own the house, so they're
they're
saying
their
they have to
landlord.
get out
Yeah,
of their
I
own
see.
house.
Yes,
No,
yes.
we've outgrown the place. The studio is. I want to expand. So when I launched the studio, I want it to be in a bigger space. I looked at a standalone building, and honestly, for what I do, especially post work, I can do a lot of that from home. It doesn't make sense to have a facility necessarily.
Yeah.
So I do want a larger studio, which means different house, and then my wife wants more space that's not a studio in the house.
Right.
So
And the cats need more space too.
yeah, you know, got to build those crazy
Cat walls and
gyms.
the whole.
So no, like I occupy a large percentage of the household, and so
Selfish.
it's time to
He
share.
is the king
Yeah.
of his castle.
Can I
so she's
backtrack
getting more than I
for
do.
just a second back on the cats? My favorite thing that I've ever heard anybody say was you.
Okay.
And it was Toki, his cat that has like little white socks. And Toki came up to me and like rubbed his like little head on my leg. And I went to touch him and he ran off and he goes, no. Toki has stripper rolls. He can touch you. You can't touch him. And I use that all the time. I'm like, oh, stripper
it's
rolls.
crazy.
Rules.
Yeah, I mean, and I use that because it's so strange. He is like, you walk in the house and he is all up in your business. The second you reach down to touch him,
He's like, back off.
Gone. He's like, and he looks at you, like gives you that crazy look,
Hey.
like, what
Stripper
made you think you could
rules.
touch me?
How
dare
dare
So
you.
yeah,
I think that was so funny that like I couldn't even like laugh at you. I was just like, that just changed my life.
yep.
Well-
Toki with stripper rules. It's a thing.
And with that, let's go to a Kelly's Corner. Perfect transition.
Yeah,
You know,
well,
speaking of stripper rules, Kelly.
stripper rules. Well, my son's birthday, both my kids' birthdays are coming up because we decided to have kids at the same month, birthday wise. I don't know how that happened. It just
Idiots.
I know. So they're a week apart, and we have to I'm starting to plan like their birthdays, and I'm having such an internal struggle right now. Oliver has opinions now that matter. You know, like Coraline, I can just give her cake, and she like we were talking about a box. Like it doesn't matter what she gets. She put a hat on her. She's happy. Oliver's like realizing that people have birthday parties. So he's asked for sleepover. He's asked for specific toys. So I'm actually having to like hunt down specific toys.
Expectations are
Yes.
high.
And like, or like, he'll like come up to me and be like, you know, it'd be really fun. Like he'll talk about like themes for a party, things like that. I'm like, I'm having the hardest time going, like deciding whether I indulge this 4-year-old's wildest fantasies up to a certain monetary point. Cause I mean, come on. Or I just say, yeah, no, you're going to have a birthday party at home with mom and dad because that's what I had as a kid. And that's what you get too.
And
it'll keep you humble.
That's right.
Like,
and you built character.
yeah, I'm like, but like they both have their little friends. So it's hard. You can't leave friends out, right? Like birthday parties, man, he has got all his list of friends. I'm like, dude, that's like a lot of kids. That's a lot of young under
You're gonna have
4,
to weed this down
talking
a
like
little
2,
bit.
1, 2, 3, 4-year-old kids running around our new house. And I'm fine with them running around our old house that we live in now. But when we move, that place is staying nice.
Well, that's
Like,
why you
I'm-
keep the key to the old house, so that whenever you have the birthday, you break
Just
into the old house
go into the old
just
house.
disperse the children in the old house.
Exactly right.
Yeah. Don't even notify the neighbor.
Yeah.
So what theme did he ask for?
He's asked for Ninja Turtles Bugs combined. He wants a Ninja Turtles Bugs party. But then he also said that he wouldn't mind. I don't know if you've ever heard the cartoon Ben 10, but it's
Yes.
okay,
Heck
Ben
yeah.
10. So yeah, it's old, but they
Yeah.
it's going.
old.
I think
Well,
my-
it goes back a
old.
little ways, right?
Yeah.
Yeah, it does.
Like some of the older stuff, but you know, Oliver's got brand new episodes on. He's watching, and so he's asked for Ben 10 theme, and I'm like, I don't even know how to do a Ben 10 themed birthday party.
you
What is
just
that?
put the name Ben on the, 10 times.
10
everywhere.
times. Yeah.
Just like put tens around the house. I'm
Yeah.
sure it doesn't have anything.
Coraline's
to do with,
theme
like,
would be cheese, which I am way more on board with than
Yeah.
Bugs and Ninja
Mom,
Turtles. I mean,
we
get
want
it,
some
but
cheese.
yeah,
Would that work for a 4-year-old's
cheese
birthday party though? Like, do you have just like go out and buy a bunch of fancy cheese, and the kids are just like,
I don't think it needs to be fancy. You just get everyone their own thing of Cheese Whiz, or like just do Cheetos.
Can I come to her birthday party?
Yes,
That
you
sounds
can.
fun.
chips and queso will definitely be there because that girl drinks it like it's a beverage. It's
Good
ridiculous.
girl.
Yeah, she's my daughter. 100%.
Well, I'm sure Oliver will have.
You guys will all be invited to our cheese Ben 10 Ninja Turtles bugs party. It's gonna be great.
Can you leave the bugs out of it?
No, they're required. They're roly polies. It's
There's
fine.
bugs in the cheese.
It'll be all dead roly polies.
Yeah.
He doesn't even know that they're
Yummy.
dead. Just put a bunch of confetti dead roly polies.
By the way, roly polies keep getting in our bathtub. I don't know if
What?
you've noticed this. I don't know how
They
they're
seek
doing
moisture and then they dry up. I'm just telling you. They're probably coming up the drain.
I don't know. Roly polies are freaking weird, man.
They dry up if they don't have like 90% humidity.
It. What?
Yeah.
The things you learn as a parent.
As a daughter of an entomologist, let me tell you. No, they have a certain. That's why
about
Oliver
that
wants a
too.
bug party.
yeah.
To impress T-Paw, his grandpa.
T-Paw. That sounds like a
T-Paw.
rapper.
T-Paw.
Yeah, he chose that name. I was like, what are you
Sounds-
gonna be?
yeah,
He's
sounds
like
like a
T-Paw.
rapper.
Yeah. I was
Yo,
like,
I'm
why?
T-Paw.
Yeah, we got T-Paw and JoJo. It's like a band name. That's like the best. T-Paw and JoJo.
T-Paw and JoJo. I mean,
Can you record their album, Ryne?
Yeah,
sure.
it would
Yeah.
be great. It would be a lot of jazz.
So I think we've got enough time for one game. It's always amazing. Like whenever we hit the 30-minute mark, I'm always like, oh man, we gotta stretch it out. We gotta stretch it out.
then-
And
but then we
hit
ended
the
up, like-
45-minute mark.
It's because
I'm
we
like,
have good
oh,
conversations. I think
Yeah.
it's great. Yeah.
So what are we gonna play?
We're just gonna play Shoulda Said, man. Like,
Yes.
It's a good one. It's one of my favorite.
It is
games.
one of
I'm
my
gonna be
favorites,
honest. It's one of my favorites.
So what suggestions?
Yeah, let's get some suggestions from our guest. Let's get a location.
on the spot.
I know. Improv.
I mean, I'm really feeling the Ninja Turtles thing.
Ninja Turtles.
So let's just say
great.
a sewer.
Sewers. Okay. Do we need anything else? Let's just go sewers.
Relationship?
Let's get an object.
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 Ooh.
A crystal ball.
Something that shouldn't be in
A
a sewer.
crystal ball
Crystal
in
ball
the
should not be in the
sewers.
sewer.
I like
All
it.
right. Okay. So
You're
we
right. I
got
don't know. Yeah.
the crystal ball of the sewers
about
in
you.
3, 2, 1.
Hello.
Hello.
Oh, I was told I need to see a psychic, and I saw your sign up on the streets, but I didn't realize I had to climb through the drain pipe. Are you in there?
Well, you totally came to the right spot, dude.
Oh, great. Okay, so I'm just gonna slide on in here. So legs first or head first?
I like to go like sideways first.
Sideways. Okay. Well, can I just talk to you from I don't know if I really want to get into the sewer. Can I just send a letter down with my question? Can I reach my hand down? You can just hold and read my palm through the
high
sewer
five,
drain.
bro.
Oh wow. Okay. I guess I had a friend pass away, and I was kind of hoping to maybe hear from them. Can you help me with that?
I can totally help you with that. Come on down and look at my ball. Come on down and behold my ball. Come on down and look into this awesome crystal ball.
Good one.
Okay. Let me just slide in there and hold on. Okay. Oh. I don't mean to be rude, but you are not what I was expecting as a psychic.
That is racist and
I am-
rude. You are a bigot. You are beautiful.
Oh, thank you. Sorry. I think I really need to hear that today. I've had a rough time.
So how can I help you, my young apprentice?
I like I said, I had a friend pass, and I was just wanting to know where she left the keys because I can't get into my house.
Wait, shh. Did her name start with a J? Did her name look like an L? Did her name exist?
Yes, it was Becky.
Knew it. I knew she had a name.
That's incredible.
I knew she had a
That's
name.
incredible. I can't.
Psychic.
Wow. Okay. Well, I need you to contact Becky. Just ask her where the spare key is. Tell her that I love her, and I also need to get in the house. Tell her that she hid that key, and I know that she did it on purpose right before she died. That bitch.
Sounds like a total bitch.
She was. Rest in peace.
Okay, all right. So I'm going to put my hand on the crystal ball. You also put your hand on the crystal ball.
Oh, my hand needs to be on the. Usually, it's just the psychic that.
Our collective energies together are going to activate the crystal ball. Our collective energies together are going to make the crystal ball speak to us. The ball needs a massage.
Ew.
I totally am fine with what you just said about the ball. I'd love to massage the ball. I'm okay. I'm touching.
That's right.
I don't mean, again, I don't
Place
mean
your
to be
hand upon the
rude.
ball.
It's just that your hands are so green. I mean that in the best way possible. They're just very green.
I'm going to ignore your racist comments. All right. Now repeat after me. Becky.
Becky.
Sup.
Sup.
My God, did you hear that?
I'm going to be honest. I didn't hear anything.
I just farted. You just farted.
Hello? Oh my. It's Becky. I hear you, Becky. I hear you.
You're a bitch.
Oh my gosh, I knew it. Okay, I don't even want to talk to her anymore.
This ball works every time.
Becky?
This ball is really awesome. I love my ball.
Becky, I just want you to know I'm going to break in the window, so it doesn't even matter. I don't need the key.
I'm dead.
Also, I
don't care.
miss you. Also, I love you. Also, I definitely slept with Steve. Also, I'm wearing your underwear right now.
Yeah.
I'm not sure why that was a thing I just said, other than it was the game.
That's how you get back at the roommate.
That's how you know.
wearing your
See, I
it
was just going to say, that's my revenge.
There goes
You
the
wouldn't
bell.
want me to do some stretches, would you? Well, Ryan, thank you so much for coming on the show. Lainey, thanks for,
Yay!
showing up.
Not killing him.
Not killing me.
You guys want to plug the album real quick? Because I want you to plug the album so much.
Where can we find the album, Lainey?
On iTunes and Spotify and Amazon and
In their house, because they'll play it live
our
for you.
house.
Yeah.
Yeah, we can.
Anytime.
You just let us know. You just call
5
us.
minutes notice.
Maybe you guys can be the band at Oliver's birthday party.
We could totally
We could
do
totally
that.
do that.
Write a song about Ninja Turtle bugs. Just do it.
Ninja Turtle bugs are cool. They're so super cool. Shazam!
I think you would love that.
Turtle bugs.
Turtle bugs.
So,
Band name.
you can find our album O Fidelis, A Long Time Coming. We changed the title because it took
A long
9
time.
years for the album to drop. But it happens. But Ryan, where can we find you on social media? Or are you one of those freaks that doesn't have anything?
Just like me.
I don't have anything. I will, once again, next year, when the business launches, like, in earnest, I will have social media presence because, I mean, you kind of,
Yeah, you
you
kinda have
gats
to.
to.
Yeah.
So, I mean, I'll be around someday.
What's an email that people, like if somebody wants to have a recording done?
westernrebelstudios@gmail.com. So I am reachable.
Yes. And you are personally on Facebook, aren't you? No, you're not.
but
You
my-
freak.
You know, my wife represents me in all things social media.
I wish that you would let me represent you in all things social media.
That would be a horrible idea.
No, it would be the best idea. I follow you.
But yeah, I think
just don't like my
probably
political
with
jokes.
some things coming up. Honestly, I've got some really cool projects that I can't really talk about yet. That
Yeah.
I would.
We are in the
Actually-
future, so you can mention it because we are in the future right now.
yes.
Okay.
This won't drop for a little while, so just pretend like,
Just like one of
it's like an
those-
illusion. We're alluding to the.
Yeah. It actually
The
could be
goodies.
December by now.
Yeah.
I won't be ready by December.
Oh, okay, never mind.
But I actually think it would be wildly entertaining to have you guys try out one of the things I'm working on in front of a camera.
Ooh. Oh, yeah. Okay.
I can't really say more than that without ruining what we're doing. But
Secrets. I love
it's
it.
It's secretive, super secret. But I actually am trying to do something that I think will be really cool for music, but also really different.
Yeah.
I don't know that anybody else is doing it right now. I finally,
Jeez, tease us, why don't you?
I know.
I finally
What
like
is it?
funded the project. So
okay.
we're working on it. But I definitely want to get you guys involved just because I think it could be really, really fun.
Well, we are always down.
And I know that's like the worst way to like tease something.
No, it's
It's a
great.
whole lot
It's
of
all
nothing. But
gonna
yeah,
be
I'm
cool.
hoping to get those things like out in the open as soon as possible. But I'm not fully staffed.
It's just a long time coming.
Army of one.
Yeah.
So, yeah. So I hope to beat your time on this.
Perfect.
But maybe not.
Okay.
10
Well-
years later.
Well, Lainey, where can we find O Fidelis?
Don't you plug it. You're so much better.
But I have to plug the
Here's-
Okie Show stuff.
Oh, but you could do both. You could do both.
Or I'll plug O Fidelis, and then Kelly, you can plug the Okie Show, and then
I've never done the plug for
I
Okie
know.
Show.
And then we can bounce out. We're actually going to end tonight. In tonight's episode, after we play the playing out music, we're going to play one of your songs or one of O Fidelis' songs that you recorded and mixed and everything to kind of give people an example.
That could be
of your work.
dangerous if it's one of my songs.
New Mexico.
Ooh, I like that
It's a
one.
good one. It's a good one.
I like it.
But you can find O Fidelis on iTunes. We have an EP and we've got a full length feature album, a full album. And meanwhile, you can find us on Facebook. We even have a YouTube channel that we haven't visited in a while.
Hey, is the mandolin solo still on there?
I think so. Yeah.
Fantastic.
And then we're also on Twitter at O Fidelis.
Yeah.
I wasn't even aware that we had a Twitter.
Yup. You tweeted from it.
No, I didn't.
Yes, you literally
intentionally.
tweeted from it like yesterday.
Whenever I do it on Facebook, does it automatically go to the tweeter?
Maybe.
Because starting to say, I've
the
never
tweeter.
even signed on to a Twitter in my entire life. So.
Well,
It's
there you
all
go.
Brian, guys.
I'm apparently doing all sorts of things in my sleep.
Yeah, you can find the Okie Show on Facebook and Twitter and Instagram and YouTube coming up in the
Yes.
future. But
the
we're already in the
distant
future,
future, the year
at
2000.
Okie Show. What else is? I mean, that's about it.
That's
At
pretty much
Okie
it.
Show. Yeah.
Yep. And we'll see you guys in the next 2 weeks. Okay.
Bye.